secret that many of us, I personally, my mom, she was single for a long time, right? After separating my dad, and we were under the system. We would receive food stamps, we would receive anything that we could, and little did I know that I was able to eat at school because of your bill and your initiative. So thank you very much, because we have the ability to always be fed in school and out of school, but that allowed us to be motivated and be, proud of who we are and our roots. So I do get very emotional, because I was one of those kids that unfortunately didn't have the ability to grow up with, so much accommodations, but we were very, very, privileged to have food at our home, and a lot has to do with all that you've done. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. I also want to mention, before we go into the actual questions, do know that you motivate younger generations to be who we are. I personally am motivated, and I'm so, and I keep, maybe I sound repetitive or like a parrot here, but I am so humbled that I have the honor and opportunity to collaborate with your staff, but also to have the honor to reach out to you, and you always take our call. And I've been now 7 years with the Chamber and other entities prior to my tenure here. I am motivated by your leadership, and I'm motivated by the ability that I look up to one day be able to have, the leadership skills that you have, and be able to communicate as you do with so many, be loved and respected by all that crosses paths with you. But one of the things that I want to share that it really motivates us too is to become a better leader. And I had the honor last year to be nominated to be 40 under 40 at a national level. So I represented the city of Brownsville, in fact 3 out of 3 in Texas, and I was one of those 3 to be 40 under 40 at a national level from 7,000 chambers. But I also would like to take the time, because not only do you motivate me, but my staff. And Danielle was recently nominated 40 under 40 at a national level. So thank you for inspiring us, and thank you for taking our It is a bragging moment for our chamber, because you see it's small, but we're fierce and mighty. Yes. And we're one of the very few chambers at a national level that has had this honor back to back, received multiple awards through our efforts, right, in our communication department and as a whole as an organization. But to have 2 of 4 staff members be 40 under national level, and then the next to come back there that we're going to push them to be 40 under 40 next year as well. So a lot of that comes from you motivating us and your team always being present and learning from you all. That only allows us to become stronger and be more confident in what we do every single day. And I do want you to take that with you, because we talk about you in a good way, so at the office very often. And you've built a team of supporters, regardless of party. You said something. You cross to extend your hand to the other aisle. And parties don't really, of course, because of formalities, parties have to be part of the ballot. But at the end of the day, Ben once told me the hardest relationship you can have is with someone else, with a person, and allowing us to be able to remove all those barriers and speak from the heart and help each other. I think that's what has made you the most successful as a senator. Thank you for doing that, sir. So at this time, I can open the floor for any questions that you may have. We want to make sure that we honor your time, and I know that, of course, the senator is a great speaker, and we get so emotional with his conversations all the time, but I'm going to shake it up here and ask anyone to join us for some questions that you may have.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment, and I am leaving early because I have a presentation over at the Zoo. You know him as your senator, I know him as my uncle, and his heart is so true. When I went through brain cancer, he texted me every single day a prayer. He was praying the rosary for me. When my father closed his business of 20 years, Rasaka Bar, we weren't going to have a Christmas. And who shows up Christmas morning with his Suburban? Uncle Eddie opens the Suburban door, and there's our Christmas presents as kids. That's really who he is. His heart is true. His heart is good. And I want to thank you all for respecting him and honoring his tenure as senator of the great state of Texas. So, love you.
Thank you. That I think are important to address, especially as we kick off legislation. So one of them that we received, what do you believe should be the legislature's top priorities for the upcoming 88th legislative session, sir.
Okay, well, everybody has bills. I think the best way to find out for yourself is to see what bills are filed early. The early bills probably get are filed with the blessings of the lieutenant governor. Sometimes they're getting low numbers. If you see a bill with a low number, it's an important. Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill is the budget. Senate Bill 2, 3, 4. Could be an education issue, could be a health issue. Education has always been right on top. You know, and healthcare as well. Those are the two big items. And of course the budget is the only reason we're in session, to tell you the truth, is not to pass any bill, but to pass a budget so that state can operate under. And it's in excess of $280 billion for 2 years, biennium. It's called a biennium budget. That means that it's gonna be passed next year and it'll take effect the following fiscal year, which is September, for 2 years. So we're on the last year, on the second year of the last biennium budget that we passed. So the budget is number one. I mean, you know, what are we going to spend in public ed and healthcare, criminal justice, you know, and highways, byways, infrastructure projects? All those issues are most important, and they're at the top. I always felt, and I'll be very sincere with you, I always felt that the pro-life issues for me were very important. And I follow the U.S. Conference of Bishops and the Texas Conference of Bishops all the way along. I mean, and the reason I say that is because I've always used my faith as my decision-making guide. I think that's important to me. I've learned a lot of things, and I believe in the pledges, the U.S. pledge and the Texas pledge, because they both refer to God, and I'm pleased that they do, because this country was founded under God. There's a freedom of religion, freedom, so many different freedoms that we enjoy. So the pro-life issues, or abortion issues, I should say, are also going to be on both sides. Both parties are going to have bills that are going to be introduced, and some people take those as their number one priority, right? It's just depending why you're up there, in many cases, what you're up there to lobby for, or up there supporting, or trying to kill. It's not just about passing bills, it's also trying to kill bad bills, which people think there might be. But the budget, number one, and everything right at a close second, because we will take up and consider reforms in education, continued reforms in education. And I know that there are things that we haven't even thought of. Sometimes you can share a thought with the legislator, and that legislator, like I have, with the help of my chief of staff and my staff, we form an amendment to a certain bill where we can tack in or put in the subject matter that you're interested in. And that's how we also, you can pass legislation without passing a bill, you know, in terms of the issues you want to see passed. So stay tuned, get to know, you know, your new senator, your new state representatives, and try to see what you can do to inspire them to work in there things that you feel are important for our community. I know there'll be some bills for Brownsville, you know, that have already been talked about, for Cameron County, for the Valley. There's a lot of things on the table. My job is to make sure, as a legislator, that you are part of the process, that I open doors for you to meet with leadership and to meet with legislators and to meet with other public officials that head up very important agencies. By the way, the legislature doesn't run state government. We're lawmakers. we pass a budget. The people that run government, the state government, are really the board members on the board of regents with the universities, board members for the criminal justice system, board members for Texas Parks and Wildlife, board members for, all housing and water, et cetera, et cetera. All those agencies are the ones that are decision makers and that work full-time, year-round, given the authority by the legislature and the budget to work from. So they work on giving out grants. It's a process that is not easily defined, but you learn it, and once you learn it, you're able to be more effective.
Sir, and lastly, how does a bill become law?
I'm sorry?
How does a bill become law? Your bills, once they approve through the House or the Senate, how does it actually become a law?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, they have to go through both chambers, obviously. They have to file, they have to go to committee hearings. They have to come to the floor of the Senate or the House. And it's a little different in both chambers. It's not completely the same. It's a little harder, to tell you the truth, in the House. If your bill gets to the House, you've done a good job. My job doesn't end in the Senate. I have been in the House many times to go talk to my legislator, to go talk to legislators from Houston or El Paso, or some House members that are members of committees where my bills will be heard. I go out and say, look, this is what my bill's all about, and I'd like very much to have your help. Those same people come to the floor of the Senate, they gather around my desk and say, here are my requests, So, reaching across the aisle, it's give and take, trying to see what you can do for one another, and the process works. Now, the most important thing, I'm going to remember this now, the most important thing when I pass a bill is when I explain that bill in committee, when I explain that bill on the floor of the Senate. The most important thing is for me to establish what? Establish legislative intent. What do I mean by this phrase or this sentence or this word? Legislative intent is most important in bills that have been misinterpreted, in bills that have not been followed, because no, that's not what it says. It says this. I read it different. And you give something to an attorney, he kind of, and I'm not an attorney, but I'll work with other attorneys, and they'll see it 4 different ways. The way you establish your bill to doing what it's meant for it to do is you establish that legislative intent. You say, this is what my bill is about, this is what the intentions are for my bill, and it's over. It's part of the record.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions at this moment that we may have? Oh, multiple.
Senator, thank you for your service. You're truly an inspiration to all of us, myself. And on the legislative horizon, what does it look like as far as hot topics coming up that are going to be a big issue for us to consider? One of the things that comes to mind for me is, our children in schools and the protection of those children in light of what happened in Uvalde, what's happening throughout the United States. What can we expect coming in the horizon?
That is so important. Thank you. And by the way, please forgive me. After they go through the committee hearings, the floor hearings, they sometimes the bills crisscross. The bill that gets over here before my bill goes over there, then I substitute the House bill for my bill, and I pass the House bill. Or they substitute the Senate bill for their bill, and they pass the Senate bill. Sometimes you have to come with bills that are identical, that are filed by somebody in the other chamber. I have to, and then it goes to the governor. The governor can say yes or no. He vetoed some of my bills, and I said, nice, Governor. One of them that he vetoed was the doggy bill. And the doggy bill, it was to stop, abusing dogs. establish, you know, safety features for dogs, making sure they were fed, making sure they got a shelter, making sure they don't have a 100-pound chain on them, you know. It was a great bill, and he vetoed it. I felt sorry for him, because he had 100,000 calls from all over the state. And then we worked with his attorney, we changed some wording, and it did the same thing. We just changed some wording and he signed the bill. But, you know, that actually happened. And, but I respect the governor. You know, sometimes he's ill-advised. And I say that in a humble way. He's ill-advised. I've never been ill-advised by my staff. They've always advised me well. But seriously, that's the end there. If there is wording in that bill that says immediate effect, then it goes into effect immediately. If there's no wording as such, then the bill goes into effect the next fiscal year, which is September 1 of the following year. To your question, wow, mental health is an issue that we've addressed, and we've pumped in millions and millions of dollars. That's part of the problem. But there's other issues involved, and guns in schools and shootings and everything else. You know it, I know it. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. I'd put a stop to it. Nobody, when you're pro-life, you don't want to see anybody's life taken, no matter who it is. But there'll be bills again on addressing, you know, hand carry, addressing, you know, how lenient some people feel we might be with the laws that we have already, making them a little stronger and more accountable for those that have guns, making sure that. Did you know that if you check your gun at the Capitol, you can go in, you check it, you got your license, they'll give it back to you when you go into the Capitol. You didn't know that, did you? And I think that's a crazy law, because somebody can be on the 3rd floor looking down at the Senate and take I hate to even say it, take a shot at you. I think that should be looked at, because there's flare-ups. There's always flare-ups on the issues, on some issues, and I would hate to see something like that happen at the state capitol. By the way, that state capitol, that picture, that's the north side of the capitol. In case anybody's wondering, did anybody wonder about that picture of the capitol? That's the north side. When I drive into the capitol, I drive and see that picture every day. That's the north side. On the south side, you don't have that rotunda that goes down into, I was there when we moved out in 1991. We didn't have any gun issues in 1991, but we didn't hold session at the Capitol. There was a big hole, a huge hole. It was 4 stories down. So now you got 2 parking garages, floors, huge, and then 2 floors for committee hearing rooms for the House, offices for the House members and Senate members. The expansion on the Capitol took 2 years and a little over 222 million. No tax dollars were used to build what we have today. It was all contributions from the public, where you bought a brick like I did, you know, right there on the ground. I suspect that that's going to be an emotional issue. Let me end with that. And that some people are going to want to make sure that just not anyone. Background checks are going to be most important to come out again. And other issues that people have a problem with carrying of guns, having guns publicly. So, yeah, that's a big issue.
Thank you, Senator. One last question. Maribel, you had a question?
Yes, Senator, it wasn't a question, it's more of a thank you. I've been a chamber member for 30 years, 15 of those years board member. The one consistent thing throughout different administrations has been you. You have been at all of our chamber main events. And I want to say thank you. You've made the time to serve your chamber, and we're so grateful for you. And we wish you the very best. God bless.
One of the first bills we passed in the House was a chamber bill, and I was very proud of it. Back then, I think Steve Bossier was around. Some of the old Jim Tumbleson, David's grandpa. David Tumble, for those that know David. It's been a wonderful journey, and I've been able to meet 3-4 generations of people. That's the beauty about serving in public office. When you have tenure, you're able to talk to the grandchildren of those that you first met. And one of them worked for me. He was a chief of staff, Louis Sanchez. Anybody knew Louis? Well, Louis' grandpa in 1970 helped me become county treasurer. And I didn't know it. When I hired Louis, I had no idea. My wife, who was with the chamber here in Harlingen, recommended Louis to me. And then I find out after I hired him that Lalo Cepeda, who was a constable in San Benito, was his grandpa. So it's a joy to be able to put the puzzle together. At one point or another, I've met some of your parents or your uncles or your aunts or brothers, sisters, cousins, and it's just been a joy for me to be able to see the development that is taking place. But we still can do better, and I think that's what this chamber represents. This chamber is like no other chamber, and I don't say that to be critical of past chambers. I'm just saying this is one heck of a chamber, and I pit it against any other chamber in the state or the valley for that sure. You're number one chamber in the valley for sure. And there's other economic development corporations out there like far out of this world, and just communities that have risen to the occasion where they're located in my district. But the chamber here is something very unique, and I wish you a world of success. God bless you all.
Thank you, Senator. I don't feel that we have any other questions. And before we adjourn, I do want to thank the staff. We woke up at 5, we got here at 6. But we do this with a heart full of joy and a lot of pride, because what we do is a full representation of our leadership, our board of directors, our members, which we're very humbled to serve. And I do want to acknowledge the hard team of the chamber. In case you've yet to meet them, I encourage you to get to know them. We have a small yet mighty team of 3, not including myself. We have Astrid back there. She oversees membership. Astrid. We have Anya back there, Rovello. She's our special events coordinator. We have our proud 40 under 45 years in service at the chamber, our director of marketing programs, Daniela. I failed to mention a lifetime member. She doesn't need an introduction, but I'm proud to call her my dear friend and a mentor, Maribel Baca, second-time chairwoman of the board. Thank you. We encourage you to join us tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. The Consulado, the Mexican consulate in Brownsville, actually granted us the opportunity to collaborate once again, and we have Foro del Emprendedor. Tomorrow, we still have available spots. You can contact Hania or Danielle should you need to register. We still have some scholarships awarded by the Mexican consulate. Our goal is to create a platform to educate future entrepreneurs. We have one of our speakers, Arturo Gonzalez. If you haven't met him, you have to. He has been 25 and plus years in service in addressing the needs of our entrepreneurs and assisting them through counseling, which is free of charge in collaboration, of course, with UT RGPS BDC. And we call him a dear advocate and friend of our chamber. We're very proud to work with him. Should you know of anyone that is struggling or has the dream of establishing their business, there are ways to do so in a very successful manner, and that is through the assistance of professionals that know how to manage this type of activities, and we'll guide you through A through Z. And we're not a financial institution, but we as chambers are educators, we're builders, and we're connectors. So So your success is our success, and we really mean those words. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you also to join us December 14th for the Membership Appreciation Holiday Mixer. It's in downtown Brownsville Market Square. Call our office, 542-4341. They don't pay me to say this, but 542-4341. Or visit our website or social media. We have state-of-the-art social media group pages. We're very proud to say over and over again, your chamber is making history. We're an all-female team for now, because we're gonna hire someone else in the next month to come. But we're proud to say that we're one of the smallest chambers in the state of Texas, but we've won multiple awards back to back thanks to the great support of our board directors, our staff, the great vision under our marketing department, and everyone that supports us as an organization. So your chamber is making history, and that's because of you. So thank you very much, and this concludes our program.